but in terms of men being attractive in Japan, it's definitely the fashion for me that stands out the most. Minasan, konnichiwa, squishy toke, yokoso. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about 5 things I found surprising being married to a Japanese man. So if you like videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's begin. Okay, so before I get into the list, I do want to mention that this is just from my own personal experience and that everybody is completely different, and just a disclaimer before I begin this video. But let's get into it. Number 1, breakfast. I know, the most important meal of the day. Not for me, at least not until I moved to Japan. So being British, we don't really eat breakfast. Everyone's different, like I said, but it is normal for a lot of us to skip breakfast or have breakfast on the go. So by that I mean you'll just like eat something on the way to work or just something quick. It's definitely not treated as one of the more important meals of the day in the UK. We kind of just skip over it a lot of the time. We kind of see it as not necessary, but if you have time to eat it, then yeah, great, perfect. But definitely in Japan, I've learned that breakfast is considered really important. So even when my husband has to get up for work ridiculously early, he will still find time for breakfast, which I think is essential, especially if you're working really, really long hours. I think you need to get all the energy that you need. And as well, I really love traditional Japanese breakfasts. I love that they're really, really balanced, and you know, you can have baked fish, bowl of rice, sometimes miso soup. I just find it really comforting, and actually it is a really good way to start the day. I'm still not great at eating breakfast. I still don't eat it nearly as often as I should, but definitely since moving to Japan, I have taken breakfast a lot more seriously. And actually, now that I'm back in the UK, and we are quite lazy with breakfast here, I have fallen into my old pattern of not eating anything or just eating like a biscuit and a cup of tea, which is probably not great. Okay, number 2, not teish kanpaku. So I feel like maybe this should go in my misconceptions about Japan video, because this is definitely a misconception that I had, where I thought that Japan still had that very traditional lifestyle of, you know, the man is the breadwinner, he goes out to work, the woman is the housewife, she takes care of the kids, she cooks, she cleans. And like I said, everyone's different, and I do think that you see that kind of setup more in Japan than you do in the UK these days. But I was kind of surprised to learn that really no, not everyone is like that, and it isn't as common as I thought it was. I mean, it's still more common than it is in the UK, but in my situation, and like I said, this video can really only be from my personal experience, but in my personal experience, my husband and I, we share everything. So he cooks and I clean. Both of us work, and you know, if we see something that needs doing in the house that's not necessarily falling into either of our categories, whoever wants to do it will do it. Yeah, so even things like laundry, we typically share the laundry. My husband does anything paperwork related. I clean as often as I can. I will also like do ironing and things like that. We try and share as much as possible just because that's what works for us. And I think different things work for different people. Everybody's different. Everybody has a different dynamic, and yeah, we share things. And I'm so glad that he cooks, because I am a terrible cook. Okay, I'm not terrible, but one thing that I've learned living in Japan is Japanese food is more often than not made from scratch. So most things are made from fresh ingredients. Whereas in the UK, we do tend to take the quick way out. Yeah, what I mean by that is buying things that you kind of just throw in the oven, or really quick meals. I eat a ridiculous amount of pasta in the UK. It's just my go-to, I don't know why. So honestly, I did think I could cook. I really did. And then I moved to Japan and realized, no, I cannot cook. Because I think making something from scratch is just something that I find really, really difficult. Whereas my husband, oh my goodness, I think if I asked him to, he could make absolutely anything, especially Japanese food. He could make anything. He's really, really talented, and he really enjoys cooking as well, whereas I don't. So yeah, whenever I cook, which I do sometimes cook, it isn't, you know, always one person doing one thing and one person doing the other. We do like to switch it up sometimes. But yeah, when I cook, it's pretty much the same few dishes. Whereas when he cooks, he likes to experiment and things like that. But yeah, like I said, everybody's different households work differently, and we've just found what works for us. It's definitely not as simple as all families are the same, all husbands go and work and all wives stay at home. It's not like that at all. It really is different for everyone. But like I said, I don't know why, but in the UK, even before I moved to Japan and you know, people found out I was getting married, I did have a few people saying to me like, oh, you know, be careful because you'll be expected to stay at home a lot more and expected to, you know, cook and clean and do everything. And I was like, you don't even know my husband, so how can you say that? So yeah, there is that kind of misconception. And like I said, maybe it is more common to have that routine in Japan, but for me and my husband, we're not like that. And like I said, everybody is different, and this is just my experience. Okay, number 3, weekends. So I've talked about it before on this channel, but basically in Japan, a lot of people work crazy hours during the week. So logically, that would mean the weekends are meant for resting, and maybe you don't want to do much on the weekends, which is kind of sad because I feel like that is your free time and you do get to do fun things on the weekend that you can't do during the week. That's what I thought. But actually, and again, this is just my own experience, but my husband and I, we like to date. I love that. Even on the weekends, my husband gets up really, really early, which actually sometimes I hate because sometimes I just want to sleep till 10, 11. And he's always just up and ready to go and do things. And I love that. And you do see a lot of couples just dating on the weekends, which I absolutely love. I mean, you do see it in the UK as well, but I feel like it's really definitely more common in Japan. And I don't know if this is just maybe my lifestyle's different in Japan and I am more likely to go to date spots in Japan, and maybe I just didn't do that in the UK. But even when I've been here in the UK and I've gone out over a weekend, I don't really see too many couples going out and doing things like going to the zoo or going to museums. I definitely see families doing that. But in Japan, I do see a lot of couples, both younger couples and older couples. It doesn't matter that they're working long hours during the week. They really do try and make that they really do try and make that time for their wives and girlfriends and, yeah, families. And it's really, really nice to see. And I absolutely love spending the weekends with my husband, going to karaoke, eating sushi, going for a walk, going to museums. Oh, we love the zoo. We're always at the zoo. If ever you bump into my husband and I in Japan, we're probably going to be at the zoo. That's probably where you'll see us. So yeah, and I really, really love that. And I think it's weird because you would just assume with everybody working the hours that they work, that we would just be tired all the time, want to sleep on the weekends and not really have the energy to do anything. But no, not at all. And I think as well, it's nice for me personally to maybe spend Saturday going out and doing something and then Sunday just chill, do nothing. I think at least one of those days needs to be reserved for just relaxing and resting. Again, this is just my experience. It's just how it works in my household, but yeah, really like it. Okay, number 4, gentlemen. So in the UK, we have this kind of famous stereotype for British men being gentlemen, but I feel like in Japan, it's, do I want to say better than that? No, not better, more obvious gentleman behavior, if that makes sense. So in the UK, I feel like everybody holds the door and there's the ladies first thing. But in Japan, it's kind of like that as well. But there are certain things that I've noticed that I've never experienced in the UK before. If I'm going down an escalator, he'll stand in front of me. And if I'm going up an escalator, he'll stand behind me. And I've never really experienced this before, so I asked him, why are you doing that? And he was really sweet. He said, because if you're going up the escalator and it suddenly stops and you fall backwards, then you'll fall on me, and vice versa. So if I go down the escalator and I fall forwards, then I'll fall on him, which is really, really sweet. And he also will stand on the side of the road, side of the pavement closest to the road. just like stuff like that I've never experienced before, and I thought it was so simple but so sweet. And then there's the standard stuff where he'll never let me carry any heavy bags or anything like that. And I feel like again, in my experience, I've never really had this with a British guy that I've dated before. I mean, I think you always offer to carry, you know, a bag or whatever, simple things like that, but never have I experienced someone just walking on the side of the road closest to the cars or the escalator thing. So for me, that's something that's really nice, and maybe I am just really lucky and that my husband is really gentle like that. But I mean, I definitely do see it in Japan as well, like with other couples. So I think it is relatively common. But like I said, everybody's different and it is just down to experience. But I definitely feel very lucky to be treated so nicely. Definitely. Okay, finally, number 5. Fashion and style. When I'm attracted to someone, it's not necessarily about the way that they look, it's more to do with the way that they carry themselves and the way that they're dressed and style, things like that. I mean, obviously I care about personality, but when you see someone for the first time, you immediately notice their appearance. And for me, it's not necessarily about their facial appearance or their like anatomically how they look, but it is definitely about their style and the way that they dress. And I feel like Japanese men just dress really well for the most part. Again, this is definitely preference, and you know, not everybody dresses the same, obviously. But generally, I do notice that Japanese men, in my opinion, dress a lot better than British men. Again, everybody's different and it is down to your personal taste, but for me, I definitely do prefer Japanese fashion. Even when it comes to women's fashion as well, I definitely prefer Japanese fashion. But in terms of men being attractive in Japan, it's definitely the fashion for me that stands out the most. I just really love the way that people dress. I can't explain it. It's not anything excessive. I think I do appreciate that Japanese fashion tends to be quite simple, but also very smart and very neat. I feel like in the UK, fashion can be quite lazy. People do just walk around in like jogging bottoms and sports clothes when they're not going anywhere active. And I'm guilty of it as well, actually. Even in the UK, if I'm just going out somewhere casual, I won't really make an effort to dress nicely at all. But in Japan, I notice I do make more of an effort. So I think it is just that mentality in Japan that people do just want to dress a certain way, and I really like that. And yeah, so for my husband, it was quite surprising to see how nice his clothes are and how much he does care about the way that he looks. You know, he wants to definitely make a good impression on people. But then again, I have noticed he kind of just looks good in everything that he wears anyway. And I think that's just what happens when you're attracted to someone. You just think they look good no matter what they do. And I do feel that way about him. But definitely, I feel like he dresses really nicely, and I think that in Japan, people just do that anyway, and I really like it. But yeah, that is the end of this video, you guys. As usual, I would love to hear what you think in the comments section below. And like I said, this is another one of those videos which is just down to my personal experience, and everybody is completely different. But yeah, I just wanted to share my opinion with you. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!